Hello and good morning, Susannah. How are you doing?
Hi, Arrow. How are you doing?
Absolutely fantastic. I'm so proud of you in the way that you are, you're proof that writers write in forward motion. This book was first came out 10 years ago, and you are speaking to a new audience and to people that have had trouble in their own lives. And I'm just so proud of you for being a part of this moment.
Well, thank you for that. Thank you. So I love writing in forward motion. Is such a cool phrase. I love that.
Well, it's one of those things that it's like when people, when things happen, they start digging through your boxes, and then they go, wow, this is really touching me. Well, so I started a campaign called Dear Future Reader, because you won't get to meet everybody who's into your pages.
Yeah. And that's a dream, right? That there's a future reader out there, that your work lives on in some way in other people's minds and realities. Like, that's the dream, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, because I mean, even with the things that you've gone through and had to struggle with and stuff like that, it's like you're changing lives without really knowing that you're changing lives, but you were chosen to be that person.
It's pretty incredible. It's one of those things that I actually I still can't believe. Mm-hmm. I will be honest, because when I was writing this book, I think had I known the world and the life that it would have on its own outside of me, I think I would have been completely overwhelmed by that. And I just thought I really didn't think many people would read this at all or be interested. Or I definitely did not think that 10 years later people would still be reading this book. So it has been extraordinary, really, to see that it is lived on outside of me. And
the thing about it is that the interpretation of the story too because readers love to put themselves inside the paragraphs in the way of saying, oh, I've done something like that. For instance, like the image of being trapped in your own body. We've all had those moments. Maybe not as bad as yours, but we've all had those moments, and we go, she healed, I can heal now.
Oh, that is so key. And I think that was something that I underestimated when I was writing the book, this idea of losing yourself, of, like, as you said, being trapped inside yourself. It doesn't need to be caused by an autoimmune disease. It can be caused by a bad breakup. And I didn't realize how general and how ubiquitous, in a way, this very rare experience actually has kind of bleeds out into the general public. And I have to tell you, when I was trying to sell this book on proposal, all the publishers but one, said that this was too rare and no one would relate to it.
Right.
That was the feedback that I got.
Yeah,
and they were wrong.
Well, and that's why I'm so proud of you, because, I mean, you did push back that. You were hearing something, you were experiencing something, and you moved forward with it. You were not going to give up on this.
I think in a way because I felt like the mission was there, because, just to get the word out about the diagnosis, that was so unknown at the time. I was the 217th person to be diagnosed with autoimmune encephalitis. I think because I had this kind of, like you want to call it a higher calling or a mission or whatever it was outside of myself, I think I felt more comfortable pushing than had it just been myself. Does that make sense? Like, it almost like because it was for something bigger, I felt more comfortable pushing in a way that maybe I wouldn't have on my own. I
totally get that, because I've been a daily writer for 28 years, and the things that we go through personally as writers, I mean, eventually you have to build up that relationship, saying, you know what, I'm not only going to learn from this, but I'm going to teach from this.
Absolutely. I have to ask you, do you write every day?
Every day before the sun comes up. Every day. Well, and I owe all of that to Julia Cameron, The Artist Way.
Oh, I was just talking to my friend about that book, because I'm a huge Eve Babbitt's fan, and I know that they talk about Eve Babbitt and swimming, and how swimming is a meditative act and really good for writers, because it's this kind of, again, forward motion.
Yep.
And meditation. That's really inspiring. So you do. I have to say, I'm a morning writer as well. Before the sun come up would be kind of ideal, but I'm not a morning person, so it can be rough.
Do you have a favorite writing instrument?
But that's very inspiring. I like that.
Do you have a favorite writing instrument?
Favorite writing instrument?
Yeah, I have 6 of them that I've used for 25 years.
Tell me everything. I want to know, because I just want to know, because I'm sorry, do you mind?
I've named them all. Once you name a writing instrument, and I think what woke me up on that was that I walked into a place here in Charlotte, and I said, "Do you sell any pins?" And she goes, "Pins? You get a pen at a drugstore. We sell writing instruments. And that changed my life because all of a sudden it was like, oh my God, I want a writing instrument.
Okay, well, I'll tell you right now, I like the Pilot G2.
Yeah.
And I like Kuratoga, the Uni pencils, mechanical pencils. I love those. And can I just tell you that my favorite thing I have that is not an instrument, but it is instrumental, are these leather, they're kind of like leather notebook holders called rotor fadens. Whoa. And they're not cheap, but they're the best. I would say the best thing I've ever bought. They just hold notebooks, and they can hold. Those. I am like you. I'm into this. So I'm here for this conversation.
Well, because that inner child is, it's spoiled, and it wants to be able to hold something such as that leather, and so it's like my journals. If I'm not using the right paper, I'm not in a good place. That paper has got to speak to me. Oh my gosh. I have all sorts of rituals attached with my writing as well. These change. I'm on my third book, and it's changed drastically in terms of it. Now it revolves around candles, and I get these candles in the East Village in Manhattan from this witch store called Enchantment. Yeah, and they do a spell on the candle, and they anyway. And I have to have this candle. I mean, I have so many of these. My my inner child is so spoiled, it gets in the way of actual production of work. But see, that's what's great about being a writer. It's one of the things when I go to the different schools and talk to students about reading and stuff, I say, I want you to write too, because your imagination travels to the same grounds, and you can use that imagination in ways. You don't have to just read. I want you to write.
I think it's key. I mean, I think, I kept a journal almost like on and off my whole life, basically. And I think it's something that I understand now is if I really want to know how I'm feeling, I have to write about it. I have to write because I don't think I've fully, things are much more crystallized when it travels from my brain to my hands. And I come to these realizations that I just won't if it's just in my head. Yep. That's at least for me, that's how it works.
Do you defrag it all?
I'm sorry?
Do you defrag? I keep a defrag journal. I started this in November of 2017 where,
defrag. Tell me what this is.
Well, what happens is we're constantly asking people questions, but are we asking ourselves questions? And so therefore we defrag. And so you ask yourself, and you have a conversation with that inner core, and all of a sudden everything starts unlocking, blah, 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 blah. And you start figuring things out before it happens.
Tell me, what are some of your defrag questions?
Defrag questions would be, for instance, like I'm speaking at a school of broadcasting today. Afterwards, I'll go home and I'll say, what did you learn from it today? How can you have a better and stronger class the next time? And then what happens is that he'll answer me back, and then so one question leads to another question.
Oh, I love that.
And it's like building scenes in a book.
It's hard when, it's hard when you're faced with a blank page sometimes to have a prompt like that and to really dig deeply in that prompt, prompting other questions. And I mean, that's really smart. I love calling it defrag as well. That is so cool.
Yeah, because when you get a blank page, the one thing about a blank page is I'll sit there when I'm having a tough time. I'll just go, oh, so here you are. You're gonna sit here and stare at a blank. I'm writing all this out. You're gonna stare at this blank page all day. Oh, what about that bird that just flew by? That's going, wow. Where is the writer today? He didn't show up. And so, in other words, I'm still putting words on a page, no matter what.
I think it's key because, and that's why I'm telling myself, I'm right now finishing up a first draft, and it's pretty gnarly, but I know that you need to fill those pages because without that, you're stuck. You're looking, you're looking out the window, right? You're staring at the blank page. That's the hardest part. And so even though I'm facing down the barrel of really, really intense edits because it's not where I want it to be, at least it's not the blank page. And I think I always remind myself that even though if the writing isn't great, at least it's writing. At least it's there.
Well,
it exists.
It reminds me so much of Paul McCartney with the song Yesterday, one of the greatest songs of all time. And the way that he built that song coming from scrambled eggs. He knew that he had a melody. He just didn't know what words were going to go in there. And scrambled eggs, da, 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 da. So it's like, just get the melody down. Because as writers, we hear music. We're not silent when we write.
No, I love that. Yeah. Yeah, it's a reminder. It's a good reminder because you can get really frustrated, and you can also be obsessed with perfectionism. And I have to go back. And to your point about this kind of movement forward that you talked about, with this new draft, I actually never went back. So my whole thing was, and it's nonfiction, so it's very heavily researched.
Yeah.
But anytime I would find new facts to throw in or did new interviews, I would just throw in notes in things I've already written. I wouldn't actually go back and incorporate. I was constantly moving forward. And so far I think it works because it keeps the momentum going, in a way.
Oh my God. I cannot wait to talk with you many more times in the future. I hope we can keep connected here. You are such a great person. I would love that. Well, congratulations on the 10th anniversary. Thank you. The 10th anniversary of Brain OnFire. This is so
wonderful.
Now, when is your next book coming out? Do they give you a date? Because I want to put this on my calendar so we can talk again.
Oh, I would love that. No, I wish I had a date. I'm handing it in next month.
Okay.
And, we'll probably go through multiple rounds of edits. But, I'm not on the schedule yet. But I don't know. I hope it, I would love to come back because I just love the way you talk about writing. And I love talking shop in a way. I just love talking about the process of writing. And there's so many more things I feel like we could really dive into.
Especially when it comes to fermenting and stuff like that, because if you don't ferment your words, how do you come back as a reader?
Yes. I'm trying to ferment my words right now for just like 3 days.
See, I
which
know.
is not going to be a very good pickling. I'm letting it be. I'm like, should I wait till after the holidays or, not? But I know it's important to get some distance. It's really important.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You be brilliant today, okay?
Well, thank you so much for this wonderful talk. It's very affirming and inspiring to me to keep going too with my work. So thank you for that.